Hello, and welcome to my speech on rural communities and how they are better than urban communities or cities. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the social animal. We are humans, and as humans, we're considered a social animal. We're called that for many reasons, but if you search up the word, how many hugs do we need on Google, your top result will be an article stating that you need 8 hugs a day for maintenance and 12 hugs a day for growth. And this is just going to show how much humans need physical contact with each other, how much we need each other, how much we're not an independent individual. We're a group, we're a collective, we're a community, and we need that. There's another article out there, and it says, rural communities are seen as good places for childhood. There's this whole article, but I have it in the references, so I invite you to go and look through the whole document. It's a fascinating article. What they did was they took the several groups of people. They took young, and by that I mean anywhere below the teenage years. And then they took the teenage years and they surveyed a bunch of people throughout the rural communities and throughout urban communities, trying to figure out what they believed about their social connections. But for the most part, they discovered that children living in the rural communities grow up to be better people, and they grow up to have a healthier life. Real quick, I want to just show you this film explaining the way we are social animals and how this affects us.
If you talk to someone that has recently moved, started a new job, or retired, and ask them what they miss most about their past situation, one of the most common answers is that they miss the people that were in their life. What that actually means is that they miss the social connections or relationships that they had with those people. Social connections or social interactions with other individuals is crucial to mental health, which in turn is crucial to overall health. The lack of social connections has shown to increase stress hormones, weaken the immune system, and lessen cardiovascular functions. People who are lonely tend to consume more alcohol, exercise less, have less quality sleep, and fatigue easily. Social relationships allow you to share your achievements and have support when times are tough. Imagine achieving a long-term goal you had. What's the first thing you want to do? Tell someone, of course. Or imagine if something terrible happens. Not having someone to lean on and talk to can make that event linger and make you feel even more isolated. Giving support in relationships can actually be more beneficial than receiving support. When someone shares something positive in their life with you, it's a compliment. They wanted you to be a part of their success, and they know that you have a sincere interest in their life. And when someone shares a tragedy in their life, you know they really trust you, and they're looking to you to help them through this difficult time. Now, some social relationships can be bad. A person that is constantly negative and has a poor outlook can bring you down and cause stress, making that relationship toxic. Someone that always talks about themselves and makes all of your interactions about them, well, that's not really a social connection. In that case, you're just an audience member in their one-person show on how wonderful their life is. Poor marital or poor relationship quality can also weaken the immune system and erode physical health. Dealing with stress from a poor relationship can lead to over-consuming food or alcohol, smoking, or taking medications to deal with the stress, which in turn can damage systems in the body. Connections through social media can be beneficial by allowing you to stay in touch with friends and family. However, social media connections are not a good alternative for face-to-face in-person contact, and too much time spent on social media can lead to more isolation and a greater feeling of loneliness. It's a good practice to use social media in moderation. To be healthy, we need people in our lives. It doesn't need to be 5,000 Facebook friends, and we don't have to have everyone like us. Having strong social relationships with just a few people is fine. A few people that we can share life's good and bad moments with, a few people that we can connect with on a regular basis with no stress and no judgments. A few people who accept us for who we are. Surround yourself with good people, folks. Good people.
Move on for now to the environmental impacts of living in a rural community versus living in this urban community. So if you look here, you'll see a bunch of different charts and graphs. This was done by the BMC Public Health. They had done a bunch of different surveys to try and figure out the differences in the pollution and water pollution, the air pollution, and the waste pollution throughout urban and throughout rural communities. So if you look at the graph, it's quite clear. There were 36% of urban communities recognized that there was air pollution. They didn't just say, yeah, there's pollution. They recognized the air pollution. They could feel it in their lungs. They could go throughout the day and they would see it every day. Every day in their life they would feel this air pollution. For the water pollution, the urban communities had 17%. Basically 18% of them were saying this. And for the garbage pollution, about 25% of the population was seeing this type of pollution. Now, if you compare that to what the rural communities were, it's quite a bit different. In the rural communities, 18% less than the 35% of the urban communities recognize the air pollution. Naturally, there's still air pollution out in the rural communities, but 18% of the people surveyed said, yeah, there's air pollution. You know, there's still air pollution everywhere, but it's harder to recognize and it's harder to see in the rural communities because it's not there as much, you know. And the same was going for the water pollution. 5.5% less people said, yes, there's water pollution. And for garbage pollution, it was 6% less people saw this garbage pollution in their daily lives. And that's a big difference. Despite what the numbers sound like, it's quite a big difference. Because they're surveying maybe 100 people. And out of that 100, 35 say, yes, I see air pollution on my daily life. And then 18 less people than 35. So that would be 35 minus 18. About 18, a bit more than 18, around 18, 19, 20 people said, yes, I see air pollution. So compared to the 35%, about 20 people, that's like 10 less people. It's actually 18 less people, but it's a major difference. And you see that in these graphs. If you look here at the graph, you'll see the big differences between it. Like the first one, the air pollution, that's almost half less. Probably a bit more than half less